A Grand Bahama Member of Parliament tackling the OBAN deal. Former city market employees picketing again today. And an 8-Mile Rock man accusing police of harassment.
The Bahamas Tonight Northern Edition starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Megan Shepard. Thank you so much for tuning in. Topping news, the debate continues tonight regarding OBAN Energy's proposal for a $5.5 billion oil storage terminal and refinery in East Grand Bahama. A local parliamentarian is stating his position, calling for more information for the Bahamian people. Italia Hall has more.
I'm not saying yes or no to the OBAN as a member of parliament. I am in the maybe category.
The OBAN deal remains a controversial issue among many Bahamians, and the member of parliament for Pine Ridge, Frederick McAlpine, is now adding his voice to the debate. The outspoken member of parliament says he's concerned about the environmental impact of the project, and industrial companies should be located more in the western end of the island.
I hear those sometimes in the east, and that's not my constituency, saying, well, you know, this is the east. But the problem is, when you're talking about a whole oil refinery, it will affect us in the center. And I think sometimes you must also give consideration to zoning. Why do you want to have a former oil refinery in the western area, and now we're going to try to put one in the eastern area, and the rest of us in the middle? There's no way the emissions of that oil refinery will affect the air of Grand Bahama, the health of people in Grand Bahama, and perhaps even our water tablets.
But McAlpine says he also understands that Grand Bahamians want and need jobs.
You also got to bear in mind that we're talking about 600 jobs, if I'm correct, in 10 years. On the average, that's 60 people getting a job a year. And even when oil refinery, formerly known as Barco, now Buckeyes, when they were in their heydays, they were talking about at least 1,000 people or more working. And so all of these things we need to give into consideration. Does the end justify the means? And then there are other concerns about how it was dealt with from the administrative perspective. And then, of course, you know, well, my mama taught me if it don't start right, it usually don't end right.
The Pine Ridge MP says he wants to see the economy of Grand Bahama improve, but notes that it cannot be done out of desperation. Additionally, he is appealing for more information and details on the OBAN project.
The reality is, because I'm a member of parliament does not mean I have all the information. That's one of the problems I often say with my colleagues. I don't mind. I don't sit around the cabinet table. I don't have a problem if I'm not given the information. I do have a problem, however, when the information is given to the car driver, given to the sweetie, given to the dog and the cat and the rat, and they've not been elected, and I've been elected, and I don't have the information. When I don't have the information, I look like a fool.
McAlpine says he will continue to speak out on issues that impacts his constituents and the wider community.
Why is it that we feel as members of parliament we have to have a one-track mind? That we must say yes sir, yes master to everything. There are people with different views, and we must be able to respect the views. I don't even have to like what you say, but I will fight like hell for you to have the right to say it, as long as you're doing so in a decent manner. I want to be one of those, they say. I remember Frederick McAlpine's representation when he was the member of parliament for Pine Ridge. If he did nothing else, he spoke out and he was concerned about people.
Reporting for ZNS Network News, I'm Italia Hall.
And from the east, we go to the southern district, where an age-old problem has re-emerged, and residents are calling for this matter to be resolved once and for all through relocation. Shishina Rowe-Farquharson reports.
Chemical emissions, oil spills, and health and safety concerns are some of the things that have been plaguing residents in the Southern District for many years. They say that they are tired, and while they believe that their cries have fallen on deaf ears over the decades, they are once again appealing to the government to assist them. The latest development in the southern community, according to executive member of the Grand Bahama Environmental Association, Shuffle Hepburn, is oil underground. He says this was discovered when the association decided to do some drilling of its own.
In fact, for about 25 minutes perhaps, black water and oil was coming up out of the ground. And so we decided we would do another drilling today. one of the things we realize is that there's oil underground in these communities. We believe it's moving as the tide moves, but it is there. The water is murky. There's no clear fresh water under here. The water is cloudy. It's a chalky white sometimes, and it's a heavy brown sometimes. But we're not getting clear water when we hit the freshwater table in these communities.
Hepburn says, sadly enough, hand pumps and electric pumps are still used by many in the Southern District.
We believe some are using the water to cook with. We believe some they're using the water to bathe with, and that is not healthy. We had some tests done on the water in Lewis Yard. We found what they refer to as acceptable levels of carcinogens in the water.
President of the GBEA, Bertram Pinder, agrees and says for far too long the residents have suffered. He believes that's why many are sick.
So many of our members throughout these communities have died of cancer, and we believe that it is out of proportion compared to the rest of the Bahamas.
Every night almost, some of the residents, they are continuing to suffer from the problems of breathing, throat irritation, eye irritation, and it's just a nuisance, to be quite honest with you.
Lowell Pinder says he has lived in this community all his life. He doesn't quite understand why the powers that be thought it was a good idea to relocate the schools, but not the people.
A question to the government of the Bahamas, and this is not a political government, it's just the Bahamian government. Show some concerns for the residents, the people. If you relocated all the schools because of the environmental hazard, what about the residents?
But they say so far they have had some discussion with the current government.
We met with the minister, Minister Ferrer, and Minister Kwesi about 3 weeks ago. We updated him on what we are doing and what we expect. We also gave him, or sent to his office, all of the information, including videos and everything, for the third time.
Now, these residents say when it all boils down, this is about life and death. They say they don't want to be relocated. They need to be relocated. Shashina Rolf-Arkeson, ZNS Network News.
In other news, today marks 6 years since City Market closed its doors on Grand Bahama, and former employees say they have yet to receive severance and pension packages. The group staging another quiet protest outside the Garnet Lavarity Justice Center today as they appeal for severance and pension payments. A court order was issued for payment to the former employees in June 2015. An affidavit was filed in 2016 stating that employees and pensioners were owed approximately $20 million. However, parties arrived at a mutual understanding, and a $12 million figure was put on the table for outstanding pension, while severance payment should have been quantified at a later date. The former employees say they are disappointed that the matter continues to drag on. The Royal Bahamas Police Force is at the center of serious allegations tonight. An 8-Mile Rock man claims he is tired of being harassed and is demanding that his property that was taken from him from his home be returned. Shashina Rolf-Arkeson reports.
13 years ago, Anthony Deveaux says he had an incident with the Royal Bahamas Police Force here on Grand Bahama. He says his car was destroyed, and after taking this matter to court, he was awarded $160,000 in damages. But he alleges that for years since this initial incident, he has been subjected to harassment by local police officers.
I have been subjected to harassment many times by the police, where they come in my yard, taking pictures of my boats, and then I'm harassing the neighbors, searching the neighbors' them house falsely.
He says one of the latest incidences happened on February 14th of this year.
Last month, Valentine's Day, the police came to my door 5 o'clock in the morning, and then they handcuffed me, shackled me, dragged me out of my place, take me to the police station, claims that they were searching for drugs and firearms. They hold me in the police station. I suffered for a whole day. All my Valentine, they went inside the police station. There is no toilet in the police station, no running water. If you use the bathroom in the police station, you can't wash your hand because the sinks they have don't have no knob, no running water in the toilet, don't run.
Now, Deveaux claims his phones were then taken, and despite many efforts to collect his property, he says police officials refused to do so until his attorneys got involved.
They say that they had a warrant, but I have never seen a warrant. Never. They just keep coming, falsely claim that they have this and that, and at the end of the day, couple hours later, they release me. You understand? And they keep doing this over and over like it is a game.
But that's not all. Deveaux claims that he was also picked up again last Tuesday during Operation Northern Strike. He says 6 phones were taken by police officers from his home, and once again they refused to return his phone, even though he was not charged with any offense.
I hear a strong knock to the door. I say, what? I ain't owe nobody, and I don't get involved in nothing. So I get up, they say police. I open up the door. They rush up inside the house, grab me, slam me on the floor, almost break my hand, because I have this hand that cannot turn. You understand? They handcuff me back on and walk me all through my place and raid and search from even the underwear. They arrested me and they took me to the police college in the back, like a concentration camp, with all kind of chairs. You understand? For hours and hours, no food, no water. We was there since 5 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't get a cup of water until like 1 o'clock.
He says what is worse is the fact that the police U.S. counterparts were also allowed in his home without a warrant and without his permission.
And the neighbors them testify and said that while I was there in the cell, the federal officials went to my place, they walk in my residence, they walk all over my place without my presence, and then they went inside my boat.
Deveaux is asking for his phones to be returned at once.
We have judges here and we have a judicial system. In order for you to deprive a citizen of their property, there must be a judicial review. The police don't have no reason to deprive me of my phones or whatsoever.
Now, simply put, Deveaux says if his phones are not returned at once, his next plan is to take legal action. Shashina Rolf-Arkeson, ZNS Network News.
Now, we asked Grand Bahamas Police Chief about Deveaux's allegations. Italia Hall has that response.
The Assistant Commissioner of Police and officer in charge of Grand Bahama, Samuel Butler, says he considers himself a professional police manager. And while he did not want to respond directly to the allegations made by 8 Mile Rock resident Anthony Deveaux, Butler says he knows what the mission of the police department entails.
But I would want to assure the members of the public that we have a professional police organization. We understand the law. We certainly would apply the law in every instance as it becomes necessary. We'll be fervent, we'll be firm, but we'll be fair. I'm not going to be in a position to answer to the cry of wolves, but certainly I want the Grand Bahama community to continue to have the trust and confidence that you have a professional police manager who's directed by a very professional Commissioner of Police.
ACP Butler says if the police has reason to go to anyone's premises, residents can be assured that the police are following the law.
We'll be guided by a proper warrant signed by the proper authority. And yes, we quite understand that there are persons sitting in the civilian branches who may not understand all the authority of the law. And I believe that when they consult with their professional attorneys, they can have many of their unanswered questions answered.
ACP Butler assuring the public that the police officers are mandated to keep the country safe.
And we ask persons who know that they are engaging in illegal activity, switch gears. We're not going to go witch hunting after law-abiding citizens. But again, I repeat firmly, if you're on the other side of the law, expect the police presence.
Italia Hall, ZNS Network News.
Stay with us. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition continues in just a moment.